Ever imagine taking a startup to like $100 million company?
Oh, yeah.
That's the journey we're diving into today
Wow.
with the Sales Acceleration Formula by Mark Roberge.
Okay.
He built the sales engine at HubSpot from scratch.
From nothing.
Yeah. And whether you're knee-deep in sales strategy or just curious how businesses really scale, this deep dive has something for you.
I think what's interesting is Roberge approached this from an engineer's perspective.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no sales background, but a sharp focus on
Interesting.
data and repeatable processes. So he really lays out how to scale in a predictable way.
So we're unpacking Roberge's 4 core formulae: hiring,
Okay.
training,
Uh-huh.
managing and generating demand.
Gotcha.
Fair warning.
Yeah.
He challenges a lot of traditional sales wisdom.
Interesting.
For example, he says, forget the stereotype of the slick salesperson.
Right.
Fit with your company is what truly matters.
Yeah.
Someone who crushed it at a big company might totally slop at a startup.
Roberge even admits that when he first started building the team at HubSpot, he poached top performers from his previous company.
He thought they would just kill it.
He assumed their success would just translate automatically. Turns out they completely flopped.
Oh, wow. So what went wrong?
HubSpot needed salespeople who were more like educators.
Okay.
Their buyer needed patient guidance through this new world of inbound marketing.
Interesting.
The always be closing approach wasn't going to cut it.
So he had to adjust his approach.
Absolutely. This led him to develop his sales hiring formula,
Right.
which starts by identifying the traits that predict success in your specific environment.
Makes sense.
For HubSpot, those were what he calls the big 5:
Okay.
coachability, curiosity, prior success, intelligence, and work ethic.
Makes sense, but how do you actually measure those things in an interview?
That's where the data comes in.
Okay.
Roberge actually created an interview scorecard to assess those 5 traits,
Wow.
with targeted questions and even role-playing exercises.
Oh, wow.
To gauge how people perform under pressure, taking subjectivity out of the equation as much as possible.
Instead of relying on gut feeling, you're actually like measuring the interview process.
Exactly.
That's great.
And that leads us to another myth. Roberge debunks that great salespeople are just sitting around on job boards,
Right.
waiting for you to post an opening.
Because they're already out there crushing it somewhere else.
Precisely. So Roberge suggests treating recruiting like building a mini agency within your company.
Okay.
Focus on those passive candidates, the
Right.
ones who aren't actively looking but might be open to the right opportunity.
So how do you find those people?
One of Roberge's favorite tactics is the forced referral.
Okay.
It's about leveraging your team's existing LinkedIn networks to find hidden talent,
Interesting.
those gems who might not be on anyone's radar.
That's smart, tapping into the people your team already knows and trusts. I'm already taking notes for my next hiring round. But let's shift gears to training. Once you have the right people, how do you actually turn them into top performers?
Well, one thing Roberge argues against is the traditional ride-along approach. Where new hires shadow a top performer for a month.
Yeah.
He believes every salesperson has their own strengths, their own superpower.
So if you're just mimicking someone else, you might miss developing your own natural talents.
Exactly. Instead, Roberge stresses the importance of a clearly defined sales methodology.
Okay.
This means mapping the buyer's journey, outlining your sales process, and having a qualifying matrix to identify those truly worthwhile leads.
HubSpot even had new hires build their own websites and blogs as part of their training.
Wow.
They got to experience the customer's world firsthand.
Which builds empathy. By walking in your customer's shoes, you gain a deeper understanding of their challenges and goals.
You become a problem solver, not just someone pushing a product. Now let's talk about how to coach salespeople to reach their full potential.
Roberge compares great managers to coaches. It's not about micromanaging, but about guiding and empowering your team.
He also cautions against overwhelming salespeople with too much feedback.
Yeah.
Instead, focus on the one skill that will make the biggest difference for each individual.
And how do you identify that one skill?
Right.
Data. Something as simple as comparing sales funnels can reveal a lot about where someone might be struggling.
This brings up an important point for our listeners.
Yeah.
Think about the top performer on your team. What's that one thing they do differently?
That's the question, isn't it? Once you understand their superpower, you can start to cultivate it in others.
Now let's move on to a topic that always gets people talking.
Ooh.
Sales compensation.
Yeah.
Does Roberge have any secrets to share?
He actually says there's no perfect plan.
Okay.
It changes as your company grows.
Right.
In his book, he walks through the 3 different plans HubSpot used and the reasons behind each shift.
Did any of them stand out to you?
One interesting plan tied commissions to customer churn. This gave salespeople a stake in the long-term success of the client.
Rather than just closing the deal and moving on.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. It encourages them to focus on building relationships, not just chasing quick wins.
And when evaluating any compensation plan, Roberge highlights 3 key elements.
Okay.
Simplicity, alignment, and immediacy.
So it needs to be easy to understand, drive the right behaviors, and provide immediate feedback on performance.
Exactly.
That makes sense. We've covered a lot of ground hiring, training, managing, and even compensation. It's fascinating to see how these elements come together to build a high-performing sales machine.
And this is just the beginning. Next, we'll explore Roberge's demand generation formula, which focuses on attracting buyers to you rather than chasing them down.
Get ready for a paradigm shift. We'll dive into that after a quiet.
Wait, we don't have any breaks in this episode.
Oh, you're right.
Remember, we're diving straight into the next part.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
So we've talked about building that internal sales team.
Right.
But what about the world outside? How do you reach those potential customers in the first place?
Yeah.
That's where Roberge's demand generation formula comes in.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yep.
He basically saw the death of outbound marketing firsthand.
Really?
Cold calls, spam emails, trade show booths.
Yeah.
Those tactics just aren't as effective as they used to be.
Because today's buyer has all the power.
Exactly.
They're researching online reading reviews, comparing options. They're the ones finding you.
Precisely. That's why inbound marketing is so critical.
Okay.
It's about creating content so valuable that it attracts your ideal customer like a magnet.
Okay, but how do you actually DO that?
Well, Roberge lays out a pretty detailed strategy.
Okay.
It starts with understanding how search engines like Google work and how they've evolved to prioritize quality content over those old tricks like keyword stuffing.
So it's not about gaming the system anymore.
Right.
It's about genuinely providing value to the reader.
You need to create high-quality content.
Yeah.
Think blog posts, ebooks, webinars that target the specific questions your ideal customer is searching for.
Okay.
The more you publish, the more Google sees you as an authority in your space.
But it's not enough to just churn out content and hope for the best.
Right.
You need to be part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Participating in online communities where your target audience hangs out is crucial.
Okay.
Commenting on relevant blogs, engaging on Twitter, being part of the larger discussion.
So it's all about building relationships.
It is. It takes time, though.
Roberge compares it to weight loss.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a crash diet. It's a long-term lifestyle change.
I like that analogy. You won't see results overnight, but consistency is key.
Okay.
If you commit to creating valuable content and engaging with your audience, the results will come.
Now, something Roberge is adamant about is building a content machine.
A machine.
You can't just rely on one person to do it all.
Right.
He actually recommends hiring a journalist.
A journalist for a sales team.
Right. Explain that one.
Think about it. Journalists are trained storytellers. They know how to research, write compellingly, and engage an audience. Roberge sees them as an untapped resource for businesses.
That's actually brilliant.
Yeah.
When you think about it, good sales is about storytelling.
It is.
Connecting with people on an emotional level.
Exactly. And Roberge also recommends forming a thought leadership committee.
Okay.
A group of internal experts who can work with the journalist to share their knowledge and insights.
So you're tapping into the collective wisdom of your company.
Yes.
To create a constant stream of valuable content.
Exactly.
But once you have people visiting your website, how do you turn those visitors into actual leads?
That's where lead magnets come in.
Okay.
Offer something valuable, an ebook, a template, a webinar recording, in exchange for contact information.
But not all leads are created equal, are they?
That's where Roberge's buyer matrix comes in. You need to qualify leads based on 2 things.
Right.
Their buyer persona. Are they a small business, a mid-market company, an enterprise?
Gotcha.
And their stage in the buyer journey.
Okay.
Are they just starting to research, or are they ready to buy?
You're tailoring your sales efforts to the specific needs of each lead.
Right.
Smart.
This then leads to what Roberge calls the Smarketing SLA.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
For those of us who aren't familiar with that term,
Sure.
can you break down what an SLA is exactly?
An SLA is a contract that defines specific deliverables and responsibilities between two parties.
Okay.
In this case, it's about aligning sales and marketing to end the age-old feud between those departments.
So no more finger pointing.
Yeah.
Everyone is working from the same playbook.
Exactly. The marketing team commits to delivering a certain number of qualified leads.
Yeah.
And the sales team commits to working those leads in a predefined way.
Instead of marketing just tossing leads over the wall and saying, good luck, there is clear agreement on what a qualified lead looks like, how many to expect, and what the next steps are.
And the beauty of it is that everything is measured and tracked.
Okay.
This allows both teams to see what's working and what needs adjustment.
Okay, so let's imagine those precious inbound leads are coming in.
Yeah.
How does Roberge suggest approaching those initial conversations?
He stresses the importance of leading with context.
Okay.
No more generic elevator pitches.
Right.
Salespeople should understand where this lead came from, what content they engaged with, what problems they're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Do your homework before you even pick up the phone.
So personalization is key.
It is.
You're demonstrating expertise and offering value from the very first interaction.
Precisely. Roberge even provides a specific voicemail sequence where the salesperson references the content the lead downloaded, offers helpful suggestions, and shares relevant case studies. You're not just pitching a product, you're positioning yourself as a trusted advisor.
Now, what about lead prioritization?
Yeah.
How do you decide who to reach out to first?
Instead of just going down a list alphabetically, Roberge suggests prioritizing leads based on their level of engagement.
Makes sense.
Someone who just visited your website or opened your email.
Yeah.
That's a hot lead.
They're showing active interest.
Yeah.
Makes sense to prioritize those folks.
Right. He's also a big proponent of specializing sales teams by inbound versus outbound.
Okay.
This means having people specifically trained in nurturing inbound leads who truly understand that buyer journey.
It's fascinating to see how all these pieces fit together. The content lead magnets, buyer matrix, marketing, SLA, and the specialized sales approach.
Yeah.
It's a holistic system, not just a random collection of tactics.
And it all boils down to creating a better buying experience.
Oh.
Roberge believes that when you truly understand your customer's needs, you're not just selling, you're helping them succeed.
That's a powerful way to differentiate yourself in today's competitive world. But even with the best systems in place, things change.
Right.
The market evolves.
Yeah.
Customer needs shift.
Yeah.
Your product develops.
Yeah.
How do you stay ahead of the curve?
That's where Roberge's final formula comes in.
Really?
Experimentation.
Interesting.
He's a big believer in testing, iterating, challenging assumptions.
Right.
And fostering a culture of innovation.
Easier said than done, right?
Wow.
How do you actually build that kind of culture within a company? So how do you build that culture of experimentation you were just talking about?
Right. It has to be more than just lip service.
Yeah.
Roberge talks about how HubSpot fostered this spirit with things like hackathons and experiment boards.
Okay, those sound interesting. First, for anyone who's not familiar, can you explain what a hackathon is?
Hackathons are those focused brainstorming sessions where people from different parts of the company come together to tackle a specific challenge.
Gotcha.
They generate ideas and build rapid prototypes. HubSpot used them to address everything from product development to sales processes.
It's like a pressure cooker for creative problem solving.
Exactly.
What about these experiment boards?
So these were regular meetings specifically designed for employees to pitch ideas for experiments.
Interesting.
And the key here is that these ideas didn't have to fit conventional wisdom.
Oh.
In fact, challenging the status quo was encouraged.
So you're kind of going against the grain.
You are.
Trying new things.
Some of these experiments led to huge wins for HubSpot.
So it's not just about coming up with wild ideas.
Right.
It's about having a framework.
Yes.
To evaluate, test, and implement.
Exactly.
The ones that have real potential.
And Roberge emphasizes that experimentation shouldn't be limited to just the product team.
Oh, so every part of the company?
Sales, marketing, customer service, everyone should be empowered to question assumptions and find ways to improve.
Speaking of challenging assumptions, Roberge shares a great example of how HubSpot experimented with their sales qualifying matrix.
Oh, yeah.
They started with the traditional BANT model. Budget, authority, need, timing.
Right.
But it wasn't quite working for them.
BANT is a classic framework.
Yeah.
But it didn't capture the nuances of HubSpot's buyer journey.
So what do?
They turned to the data.
Okay.
They noticed that their top salespeople were really digging deep into the need part of BANT.
Interesting.
They were laser focused on truly understanding the customer's pain points and goals.
They were just checking boxes.
Right.
They were having meaningful conversations.
Exactly.
Right.
This led them to experiment with a new model called GPCT.
Oh.
Goals, Plans, Challenges, Timeline.
Got it.
This framework helped salespeople uncover the customer's desired outcomes and potential roadblocks.
So it was about helping the customer articulate their vision for the future.
It was. And importantly, they didn't just roll GPCT out company-wide right away. They started with a small pilot group of top performers, guided by their best sales coach. This allowed them to carefully track the results and see if GPCT was truly effective.
What kind of results were they looking for?
They were measuring things like conversion rates, overall productivity, and even customer satisfaction.
To see if it moved the needle.
Did GPCT lead to better outcomes for everyone involved?
And what did they find?
Well, the results were incredibly positive.
Nice.
The pilot group saw a significant improvement in their key metrics.
Wow.
What's really fascinating is that other salespeople started adopting GPCT organically.
Oh, really?
Even before it was officially rolled out to the whole team.
So it became a grassroots movement within the sales organization.
It did.
People saw that it worked, and they wanted in.
That's the power of a successful experiment.
Right.
It creates a ripple effect throughout the company.
This is a great takeaway for our listeners.
Yeah.
Think about your own work. What's one assumption you could challenge? What's one small experiment you could run to see if there's a better way?
That's exactly the mindset Roberge wants to encourage, that curiosity, that willingness to question the status quo and explore new possibilities.
Because when you embrace experimentation, you're not just improving your own results, you're contributing to the evolution of your field.
And that brings us to Roberge's final and perhaps most provocative thought.
Okay.
He dreams of a world where sales is seen as a true profession.
Interesting.
Taught in universities.
Wow.
Where salespeople are respected for their ability to genuinely help buyers succeed.
It's a powerful vision.
Yeah.
It's about elevating the role of the salesperson.
Yes.
Shifting the perception from someone who's just trying to close a deal to someone who's a trusted advisor, a partner in success.
And it all starts with challenging those old stereotypes, embracing data and process, and constantly seeking new and better ways of doing things.
So for everyone listening, as you embark on your own sales journey, remember that it's not just about closing deals.
No.
It's about building relationships, solving problems, and making a positive impact on the world.
Well said. That wraps up our deep dive into the sales acceleration formula. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation.
What stood out to you?
Oh, so many things. I'm definitely going to be looking into that GPCT model.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of hiring a journalist.
It's a good one.
For my marketing team. I think that could be a game changer.
It could be. What idea are you going to explore further or even experiment with in your own work?
I think that's a great question for all of our listeners out there.
It is. Until next time, happy selling at EpiSelling.